What's up guys, it's me Jeremy. Innervating Locket was a utility ore based item that existed around early season 1. It was removed from the game, but there were some rumors and hints that it would likely be introduced back into the game sometime in season 2. Although it was never re-added, it likely gave inspiration to Locket of the Iron Solari, which is still in the game today. And it makes you wonder, how good was Innervating Locket? If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button, and if you don't enjoy the video, please click the dislike. And if this video hits, let's say 10,000 ratings, I'll make another one of these. Anyways, let's get started. Although some might remember the existence of Innervating Locket, it actually existed in two different forms. The first, many might not remember all that well, and when the game came out of beta, Innervating Locket existed in the form of an item that gave 475 health, 450 mana with the unique aura of restoring 9 mana to nearby allies every 5 seconds, and the unique passive of using an ability buffs surrounding units to restore 50 health and 20 mana over 2 seconds. And this effect had a 3-second cooldown, and the item built out of Catalyst the Protector and Mana Manipulator with a total cost of 2650 gold. So the key word with this passive here is surrounding units. Units, well, it basically means everything. It would heal surrounding champions, surrounding minions, summoned pets, on just a 3-second cooldown. This made the item an incredible pickup on supportive champions with spammable abilities like Soraka with her Star Call and Alistar with his Triumphant Roar. However, at the time, the support role didn't actually exist at all really, since we have to remember this is the Season 1 meta. So Innervating Locket, despite its inherent power, was somewhat of a niche item at first because the champions it was good on were niche picks, although it was a common pickup on those specific champions, mainly Soraka and Alistar, but it also caused Tank Gragas to be a thing with his W, and helped a few other tank champions here and there find some newfound success. Eventually though, once the game had developed a bit, the community realized that the item was overpowered as heck, and it became a super popular pickup as a must-have at least one of for every single team. The amount of team-wide sustain and healing it provided, comboed with the pushing power of healing minions, made the item seriously strong, and the champions who used it effectively became stronger as a result. Eventually on patch 87, the cooldown of the passive was nerfed to 4 seconds, and shortly after on patch 94, the heal to minions was removed completely, and the patch after that, 94B, the healing was nerfed to only benefit allies at a rate of 50%. And after those nerfs, the item somewhat fell out of the meta, as it lost a lot of its strengths and just became a super niche tank item, where most of the time there were simply just better options. After those heavy nerfs, on patch 101, Innervating Locket received a rework, to go along with the release of the new champion at the time, which was Sona. The current form of Locket likely would have been way too powerful with Sona's incredibly spammable kit, and so it was given a rework. Although the rework was essentially kind of a nerf, the post-rework version of Innervating Locket is actually the version that most of you guys will remember or talk about as being overpowered, as there isn't really that much footage of the original version of Innervating Locket. And as well, we have to remember that Season 1 began on patch 96, so it was reworked at the very early start of Season 1, which I can say that not too many of us were playing at that time. The rework changed the item to cost 2,250 gold, and it gave 430 health, 450 mana, 10% cooldown reduction, with an aura that gave 20 HP per 5 and 9 mana per 5 to you and all allied champions. And a passive that when you use an ability, you personally regenerate 50 health and 20 mana over 2 seconds, with that passive being on a 3-second cooldown. Overall, this rework was regarded as a reasonable nerf to the item, and made most of the community think that the item at the time was pretty weak, and probably not even playable on champions who could really spam abilities constantly. On support champions, the item wasn't that good, because for someone like Sona or Soraka, who did have spammable abilities, they already had major self-heals within their own kits, so it was no longer a super good item for supports, and it kind of lost the notion of being a team-wide utility item as well. It had been morphed into like some sort of sustain tank item, but the thing is that sustain is kind of a weird thing to itemize for on a tank. Like, why build sustain when you can just buy more tank stats and tank more damage overall? Especially if you're playing with a tank that has somewhat high cooldowns. But there was one champion who had a newfound power with the item, and that was of course the only tank with absurdly spammable abilities and the ability to make use of the sustain and mana regen, and that was Udyr. In the first week of December 2010, a lore event called the Noxus vs Ionia show match took place. Players on two teams played champions representing Ionia and Noxus to battle it out, with the winning team getting an item named after them. This was a relatively big show match at the time for the lore that generated a decent amount of hype and a lot of viewers. And in the match, Guardsman Bob played Udyr and showed off the true power of the post-rework Innervating Locket. He showed that on Udyr, since you were able to constantly spam abilities, you would get such an insane amount of regen that it caused you to be almost unkillable and have infinite mana, while also providing a decent regen aura to your team for an incredibly cheap cost. Although most players thought the item was weak, Guardsman Bob showcased the true power of the world, and he dominated the game and led Team Ionia to victory. And as a result, we were given the Ionian Boots of Lucidity as an item for the game. A week after the show match, the item was removed from the game as Riot decided that it just wasn't worth reworking. A nerfed version of Innervating Locket would just not really be playable, since the utility of the design was so incredible that the only way to make it balanced would be to nerf it into the ground, and so it was removed on patch 107 on December 14th, 2010. Guardsman Bob is often credited for causing the item to be removed, as he made everyone realize the true power of the item. However, lead designer Morello has stated that there were plans to remove the item before the show match, and afterwards many rioters were quoted for having said that there were plans for the item to be reintroduced in Season 2, but it never happened, and Innervating Locket has since been gone forever. And that's just about it. Here's some of my favorite comments from a previous video where I asked what you guys thought about temporary game modes. For a chance to be featured in a future video, leave a comment about what item I should take a look at next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.